I guess just start off saying, who you are,
Sure.
and like you kind of just told us, but just say who you are and what museum is you are.
Yeah, so my name is Tyson Weinert, and I am the president and CEO of the Evergreen Aviation and Space Museum. We are located in McMinnville, Oregon, which is about 35 miles southwest of Portland, Oregon. Portland is the largest international airport for the region.
Could you briefly explain what's so special about this aircraft?
Sure. So Howard Hughes and Henry Kaiser were concerned about the way the U.S. was transporting people, equipment, supplies, etc. across the Atlantic. And of course, the German U-boats were sinking those ships. Mm-hmm. And so the disruptive thinking element was, do we have to be on the surface or can we go above the surface? Once he opened up the third dimension, that you can now go above the surface, then it's like a classic innovation question. How might we transport our needed supplies and people and equipment above the Atlantic instead of on the Atlantic? So that, with a provocative question like that, followed by a number of iterations, as we know that Henry Kaiser left the relationship, so it's the H4 Hercules, which means it was the fourth iteration of Howard Hughes's design. At one point, you'll see in some of the sketches down there was a twin hull design. It eventually became a monohull, but he just continued to iterate and put it together, even when metal was in high demand, being used for the war effort. He figured out a way through the use of Duramold, which is effectively a plywood. It's nicknamed the Spruce Goose, but most of the wood came from a lumber processing facility here in Oregon, and it's birch. The vast majority of it is yellow birch. And so in many ways, the Spruce Goose has come home to Oregon from where the original trees were actually grown. Because that day when he actually took it up for its flight, he was only supposed to do a water taxi on that day. And so he was only supposed to do a slow water taxi and a fast water taxi, and that's what the day was designed for. But he knew the pressure was on, and in that moment, and I like to think, this is not a fact, I like to think that if anybody has seen Maverick, when they were pushing that envelope, and they were only supposed to get to Mach 9 at that point, but he went to Mach 10, he showed them. I kind of think that was an homage to Howard Hughes, who was only supposed to do a fast water taxi that day. He turned around and got airborne just to show the world that he could do it. So he had the timing, he had the conditions, and he was ready.
If you could digitally preserve one of the aircraft in here, could you pick one if Microsoft could, make you one?
The Catalina is also quite special. So
Is that the
so maybe,
blue one?
Yeah, the PBY Catalina would be
It's got unique.
Unique and
Very,
special, and
very
also
unique.
what it was able to accomplish. If you read some of the descriptions down there, the impact that it had.
All right.
It's quite.
One of the cool things that Microsoft is doing with the flight simulator is that they're basically digitizing some of these iconic aircraft.
That's right.
How do you feel about? I'm not sure if you're into flight simulator yourself, but how do you feel about being able to say, hey, I have this aircraft in my museum, or I've seen it in a museum, and now it's going to be able to basically forever live on no matter what happens to the museum?
It is difficult to measure what a positive impact Microsoft is having on the world for that. There are subtle intricacies from each of the aircraft that they are now digitally preserving. And there are so many things that can be captured by the digital preservation and rendering by the incredible work of the Microsoft team that we don't know how that might impact the creation of something else down the line. And so the fact that you have these 3D models in the rendering, you may be able to look at it from a different perspective now that you couldn't have otherwise done, because you can do it digitally. You can kind of peel back the layers of skin and understand the mechanical engineering elements and the structural integrity of things. And so to open up the exposure, and we saw it with the demonstration today, just understanding airflow, the impact that they are going to have, I think, is going to significantly improve flight safety overall on a very, very large scale. I think it's going to inspire kids of all ages. K to Gray is fair game by people that enjoy Flight Simulator. and it's just going to have a tremendous positive impact that we can guess at the scale of that, but to really see it and realize it over the course of time, I'm super excited by that.